The CA Board of Directors to order at 7:20 on June 23rd, 2022. I am Eric Greenberg, Chair of the CA Board of Directors. Please remember that this meeting of the CA Board of Directors is being live streamed and recorded. You can find tonight's agenda and background materials on the CA Board's website. Links to these documents can also be found in the description section of our YouTube live stream and for those watching this meeting there. If you are virtual, please mute your microphones unless speaking. If you are in the room, please ensure that your cell phones are silenced. Raise your hand to speak and I'll record the names in order which I see them. If you are virtual, please use the chat feature. As we move through the meeting, I'll introduce each item on the agenda. Before a vote's taken, I will restate the motion as well as who motioned and seconded. If at any point you have trouble hearing me or any other board member, please say so. Today's timekeeper is Alan Klein. I will now call the roll. Lakey?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Alan?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
Janet?
Here.
Sherry?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Dick?
Present.
Andy?
Present.
Here.
Jenny? Brian? Is Brian online? Brian, can you hear me? Are you online?
I don't see him in the list, Eric.
Okay, thanks. Brian's not present. Let's see if we can get him online. And I am here. Can you get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Can you get a second?
Second.
Are there any objections to the agenda? Seeing no objections, the agenda passes as written. So beforehand, I've got two announcements of closed meetings and special meetings. There is on June 13th, 2022, there was a Columbia Association Board of Directors architectural closed meeting. The vote to close was 4-0 against, 0 abstaining, to discuss new and ongoing covenant cases. On June 16th, 2022, there was a closed meeting of the Board of Directors Audit Committee meeting at CA headquarters. The motion to close was 5-4-0 against, 0 abstaining. We will now move to resident speak out. I will call on you one by one in the order which you signed up. Individuals have 3 minutes to comment. Anyone representing an organization is allotted 5 minutes. Following remarks, the board will have a chance to ask questions.
And as timekeeper, if you would please state clearly at the beginning of your remarks whether you're speaking for a group or as an individual, that'd be helpful.
Thank you. Our first speaker today is Anna Lee. Anna, are you there?
I am.
Thanks.
I'm speaking on behalf of a group, the Columbia Clippers. It's the swim team that operates out of the Columbia Swim Center. So I just wanted to give a brief synopsis of 2 meets that we just volunteered with. It was the Special Olympics, and I see David Donovan over here, who was also instrumental, and the high school invitational meet, both of which were very successful. And I thought that it was just a a wonderful time in which we could see the swim community come together here in Howard County. My daughter and I, we're relatively new to the Clippers, and I also am on the board of the Parent Association. Before the Clippers, we were just part of a swim team at a local sports club, and we have just been blown away by the vibrancy and the robustness of the swim community. At the Special Olympics that we just helped to volunteer at, there were over 35 volunteers, many of whom were our young swimmers, our young Clipper swimmers. And we had about 200 swims, 102 best times. At the recent high school meet, we had 160 swimmers representing 12 Howard County public schools, which was a wonderful time because, swimming, since it's not a school sanctioned after school, sport, a lot of these swimmers, oftentimes they are not noticed or recognized like other sports like cross country or football. But it was a wonderful time in which swimmers could not just represent, their team, their specific aquatics club, but they could represent their school. So there was a lot of spirit and just a lot of fun. So we really want to thank Columbia Association Aquatics Department because of their staffing, particularly Karen Dunker, and for the pools. The pools we have put to such great use. And I can't underscore or reiterate enough just the robustness again and the vibrancy of the swim community. And I hope that Columbia Association continues to allocate a good amount of funds for the aquatics department through Columbia Association, because not only because of the swimmers through the Clippers, but because of the outreach that we also do.
Thank you.
And that is all.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Jenny?
Just a quick comment. I want to thank you because it's our understanding that we get a lot of lifeguards from the Columbia Clippers. Thank you very much. And for
you're
all the
welcome.
other
Yes.
things you do. Yeah.
Do you have any further questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marina Blackman.
Hi, my name's Marina Blackman, and I just graduated from Oakland Mills High School in May, and today I'm representing the Oakland Mills High School Adopt a Stream pilot project, so I'm representing a group. I am the designer and originator of the Oakland Mills High School Adopt a Stream pilot project, and first of all, I really wanted to thank the board for their time today. And I also wanted to thank the mentors that helped me develop this project, Ginny Thomas, who's a member of the board here and also a member of the Oakland Mills Village Board, and Bob Marietta, who is the director of HCC Environmental Health and Safety Department. And they guided me the whole way they guided me throughout the whole project development process and gave me the opportunity to present today. So I really want to thank them as well. And I want to start off with my presentation by going over our mission for the project. So it consists of 3 things, which is developing a stream report card for the stream, which is the Little Patuxent off of Macomber Lane, which is right across the street from the high school. And then our second part is creating a regular event for students to be a part of. So that's an annual stream cleanup. And they get an environmental education experience, which is hands-on because we do water quality testing and planting native plants. And then our third part of the mission is eventually challenging other Howard County schools to do the same with their local streams, just so that the project has a greater impact on different communities outside of OM and overall impacting or benefiting communities for years to come. And I also want to go into the community involvement aspect of the project. So for Intern Mentor, this is how I got the internship with Bob and Ginny for this project. So through Intern Mentor, I was able to do research on different stream restoration projects, looking at their weaknesses and strengths, and seeing how I could develop my own that'd be strong enough to benefit my community for years to come. And I was able to contact local groups to create partnerships, which is a great way to create a strong foundation for a stream restoration project. So right now, local partners are Oakland Mills Village Board, Columbia Association, Yards Alive, Adopt a Spot, and Stream Leaders. And then our sponsors who provided safety equipment, water quality testing equipment, native plants, and water for the students at the stream cleanup are HCC Environmental Health and Safety and CA Open Space. And for this project, I really wanted to create a form of continuity since I just graduated from high school. I had to create the Oakland Mills High School Adopt a Stream Club at school so students could work together for the following tasks: photography, data organization, social media, Weed Warrior certification, stream bank sign design, and then this coming school year, we really wanted to focus on neighborhood outreach by reaching out to the Oakland Mills Village newsletter and informing homeowners on how they can do different practices like with their yards, and communicating with our partners such as Yards Alive, because they deal specifically with how people manage their yards and how they can impact the health of the stream in that way just by daily activities. And I also want to go over the Oakland Mills High School stream cleanup that we did on May 20th this year. We were able to do water quality testing, pulling invasive plants and planting native ones with our partners, the Weed Warriors, and picking up trash around the stream. And it was really fun. And all the students had a lot of fun just getting their hands dirty, I guess, like hands-on experience with environmental science and just spending time together and benefiting their community. And our vision for next year is sharing what we did with the community through social media and just the newsletter, like with neighborhood outreach. So we're looking into getting like an Instagram account or Facebook, just sharing those photos that we got from the stream cleanup, and developing the stream report card, and also getting our club sign out by the stream so people know that, oh, the stream quality or the stream looks a lot better than usual, and people obviously worked on it, and that was because of a student-led project. And overall, I just wanted to encourage any board members who are part of other communities or other community villages in CA to like encourage other people in their community and say like, oh, we should get this project done in our community. And I think that would be really cool to help spread the impact of the project as a whole. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions? Sherry?
Yeah, thank you so much for getting involved in this. And how many students did you have involved in working on this pilot project?
I think we had around between 18 and 20 students involved.
That's terrific. So that's really a great core group. And would you be willing to send some of those pictures to the board?
Yeah, I actually shared a slideshow with the board, like a link to the online messaging system that I was able to like contact the board in that way through email. And I linked a slideshow to that, and it has pictures from the stream cleanup this year.
That's great. I think that'll encourage people in other villages. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dick?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for sending those slides. That was a terrific little slideshow you have there. And I'd like to see this go to some other villages as well. And I hope maybe you can help spread the word and probably serve as a mentor to some of the other students who would want to participate in something like this. And again, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you so much.
Jenny?
Yeah, Marina is going to Cornell and will be a marine biologist, so she needed experience in environmental areas, and I wanted to do an Adopt a Stream, and I got an outstanding student to work with. I am extremely proud of her. I saw her grow a lot. And the challenge that she's suggesting is for your high school students, actually, to challenge. Oakland Mills high school students want to challenge River Hill, Centennial, Howard, whatever, to do the same thing. And she has the boilerplate for you. We actually did the research project with timelines, tasks, what's due when, what staff you need or students you need to do certain tasks. So that's all been done for you, including research on what's happening with the Bay, et cetera. What I think you're waiting for is hopefully we'll get some Adopt a Stream signs that can be posted on the land that I think CA Open Space is working on. I want to thank Dennis and John McCoy for the phenomenal job you guys have done in helping the students as well. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. Our next speaker is Tanya Akins.
Good evening, board members. I am Tonya Akins, President and CEO of Howard County Library System and a resident of Columbia representing the library this evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you my gratitude for the renewed spirit with which Columbia Association is engaging and partnering with the library under President Lakey Boyd's leadership. I was so excited that Lakey reached out to me soon after starting her position, and actually surprised because I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to be so engaged in so many things. I'm going to give her some time before I connect. So that's where that excitement came from. And it only grew. And I've just been so grateful to learn that this was simply Lakey's practice. There was nothing particularly special about me that caused her to reach out. She was engaging community members and leaders and organizations to truly learn and listen and determine what's working, what can be improved, and how she and CA can help bring about a better impact to Columbia and build an even stronger and more engaged community. And I continue to see Lakey out in the community, getting to know our community, engaging community members and connecting with existing partners, creating new partnerships for the benefit of our community. Columbia's mission and values are among the key reasons my family chose to live here. And I really appreciate Lakey's work to ensure everyone in Columbia feels welcome and seen in our beautiful community. I'm most grateful that under Lakey's leadership, that it's more than words, it's amounting to more than words. Engagement and inclusion are apparent in her actions. Lakey is showing herself to be wholly invested in leading CA in a manner that is aligned with its mission so that CA is able to live out its values in the way that Rouse intended. And I'm appreciative of that. It has been a pleasure for myself and the library team to collaborate with CA on many, many, many fruitful events. There are far too many to tell you about in the time allotted here, but I will absolutely follow up with detailed information. I'll share just a couple. In April, we partnered on an event featuring Sammy Stegman, a child survivor of the Holocaust, who shared his very moving story, a very informative story with an audience of over 50 participants. In May, our On the Road to Kindergarten mobile unit visited Kaler Hall to engage children from infants to age 5, along with their parents and caregivers for early literacy instruction and book borrowing. And just this past weekend, we partnered on the event Ghana's Road to Independence, Kwame Nkrumah's Midnight Speech, which was an interactive event with the audience. The library instructor who collaborated on this event proclaimed it to be among her favorites this year. Attendees were expressing their gratitude over and over and over, and several asked when we're going to do another program like this, which I hope will be soon. Thank you so much to CA's Sister City team, the Ghana Committee, for their work on that event, which was just phenomenal. I will send you some photos and even video for you to see and hopefully experience just a taste of what happened there. The library's International Multicultural Advisory Committee liaison attended this week's meeting and notes ample opportunities for collaboration there as well. Our library team members will reach out to each of the Sister City committees, and we're looking forward to those conversations and how we can engage and partner. My team and I are 100% committed to continuing to leverage the power of collaboration for impactful outcomes. And again, there are numerous examples that I could share, but I'll stop there and follow up with the information, including the photos and videos of some of the many events our organizations have partnered on. I will say that it is a true pleasure to work with Lakey and the CA team. Lakey breeds community, and I appreciate her leadership immensely. By employing James Rouse's values and thus the values of CA, we're building better community, and it's already evident.
I think she's frozen.
In some of the work that's happened in just the short time involved in bringing Lakey to CA and to Columbia. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you for your testimony. Before we continue, I'll note that Brian England has joined us virtually. Our next speaker is David Donovan.
Hi, I'm David Donovan. Anna kind of stole some of my thunder, but she deserves the attention probably more than anybody. I'm a father of a family of 4 original homeowners here in Columbia in River Hill for the last 23 years, and we've always had CA memberships. I became a swimmer 3 years ago, just mainly because my joints were failing, and that it was a good way to get exercise. I'm a heavy trail user, but I'm here tonight mostly to speak as the Special Olympics Howard County swim coordinator and head coach, which all fell on me about a year ago. At the same time, we learned that HCC was closing their pool, which had been our venue for nearly 20 years, and we were pretty much had no hope of having a program until CA gave us time at the swim center after hours at the same time that a scuba club is using the facility. We use the program pool over there. And so I'm here to talk about what a great experience we've had working with CA. And not only did we get time on Sunday nights, for our normal, February to June season, we were able to begin a year-round fitness program for Special Olympians, and we use that Sunday time slot all year round. But then our numbers swell during the season as well. So really want to thank the aquatics department for being able to keep our program going, because we really had no other alternative that was coming forward for us. I also wanted to just mention that as a family member and a Special Olympics representative, the diversity and inclusion that your previous speaker just talked about, they are in the mission statements and vision statements of CA. And, we at Special Olympics are really feeling that with the help that you've given us and the help that the CA Clippers team that Anna just talked about gave us an overwhelming support, just basically took over the meet. All we had to do was show up and let our athletes do their best. So whatever, the efforts of President Lakey Boyd and the entire CA board, I'm mainly here to thank all of you for Special Olympics. So I think the last thing I want to do is just give some shout outs to Marty Altman also he's the director of aquatics. As a swimmer, I've noticed the pools have never looked better. The water's cleaner. Everything about the pools seems to have really taken a step up in the last 2 or 3 years. And so that's become very noticeable to me. And my son Glenn has been a consumer of CNSL, the Clippers. He's now a master swimmer. He even works at the swim center for Emma Alderson as the swim center manager over there. So he's been greatly impacted by the aquatics department, and many of his peers in Special Olympics also work within CA. So I just want to give you guys again a shout out for all of those efforts for inclusion and diversity, and you're walking the walk, and hope it's a long relationship that we have with you guys.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? There being no questions, thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Molly Nelson.
Hi there. Good evening, Ms. Boyd, village members, and village representatives. Thank you guys so much for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight and for our voices to be heard. So again, my name is Molly Nelson. I'm a resident of Wild Lake. I am here to speak on behalf of the Bryant Woods families. I would like to say that I have 2 children who attend Bryant Woods and Wild Lake Middle, who both participate in CNSL and Clippers. And you probably saw my whole family on deck at the Special Olympics and the high school meet. So we participate in a lot of things. But tonight, I really just want to call attention to the Bryant Woods pool hours. By now, you may have heard from me in some form or fashion regarding this with the petition that is circulating within our community, asking for a change in hours. And emails have reached Mr. Altman's, the director of CA Aquatics, who has emailed me back, Kristen Shoulder, the Wild Lake Village manager, and Toast, the Wild Lake rep to your board. I would like to say that the residents have, they've been talking since the pool was open. And for one, we are so happy to see the Bryant Woods pool open this year. The past 2 years have been hard on our community. with having the pools closed. So we were so excited to see that. Unfortunately, this year, the current hours are not family friendly. They exclude children after 4:30. So the current hours are noon to 4:30 for everybody. But at 4:30, the pool closes to children, effectively to families, and becomes an adults only swimming time. I don't know if you know this, hopefully you don't, maybe you do, is that back in 2019, a community in Gaithersburg had the same discussion with their HOA, and it was deemed at that time that the concept of adults only is actually a violation of the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you didn't already know. You know, by excluding families after 4:30, it truly does reduce the enjoyment of Bryant Woods pools, because there are many working families who simply cannot get their children to the pool before 4:30 in the afternoon. And those of us who can have to drag screaming children away in the middle of the afternoon from a fun, healthy activity. So, you know, the Fair Housing Act actually applies in this case because CA is an HOA, and it was classified as an HOA under the Homeowners Association Act in 1987. So, you know, please don't misunderstand. I don't want just a verbiage change. I am here to ask for the Columbia Association to change the Bryant Woods pool hours to a more family-friendly schedule. I do recognize that these hours were set in place at this current pool years ago.
Thank you. Thank you. That's time. Can you wrap up with a closing statement?
Oh, sure. Like I said, I'm just here to ask for inclusion of family recreational swim time at Bryant Woods pools for our families during the summer evenings.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Ellen?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, would you please send to the, if you have it in electronic form, send to the board email the some reference or that the legal question you're talking about, so we could look at that. And second, this matter was brought up at the Aquatics Advisory Committee, and what we were told at that point, this was a couple of days ago, was that that decision was actually made by the Wild Lake Village Board, that when a village has multiple pools, each village gets to decide which pool stays open, which pool goes open later in the season, which pool closes earlier. And in this case, they decided, whenever that was, that they wanted Bryant Woods to have the adult swim and the other two pools to be open for family rec swim. So my sense, and what Marty, who's head of aquatics, said was he'd be open to whatever, but it was the village board that requested it. So perhaps the village board is the place to look at this and get them to reconsider.
Thank you. Yes, Marty did mention to me that he forwarded to the village board. He did not tell me that it was their decision. I assumed that as a CA pool on CA property, the pool is owned and operated by CA, and so you had say over the hours that was given. I did not know that Wild Lake Village effectively did that.
Yeah, just
any further questions?
Thank you for that information.
Just a clarification. The aquatics folks came to the village board with that idea and asked if they were okay with it. The village board did not announce that they wanted lap swimming pool only at Bryant Woods. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you for your testimony. The next speaker today is Katie Harper. Is Katie there? I will get back to Katie if she joins later on. Our next speaker is May Beal. May, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. My name is May Beal, for those of you who don't know me. I've been in Columbia for 50 years and have been a resident of Dasher Green the village of Owen Brown for 47 years. And I spent 40 years of that time working to make Howard County a better place. And I have one son named Terrence. And I want to thank the members of the Columbia Association for the opportunity to submit my testimony. I want everyone to know why I'm here. I'm here as a resident of this wonderful, wonderful community, a community activist, and a member of numerous boards. And one of the things that I would like to state, we are fortunate to have a person like Lakey Boyd as the CEO of the Columbia Association. And the reason why I'm saying
Sorry,
that,
you got me in the middle of my turn.
What?
okay, the reason why I'm saying that, I first met her at a community event. I didn't know anything about her. I didn't know who she was, but I saw this lady walking around. She was approachable. She was down to earth and had a common spirit. And all I could say, I'm here. I just want to know how you are doing. And I watched her as she worked the crowd. When she worked the crowd, she was wanting to know more about the needs of what the people of our community wanted. I did not know who she was, but I wanted to know this lady. And one of the things I found about her, I have not gone to one community event that Miss Boyd was not at. She was there and she was engaging. She was asking the community, what can we do better? As I mentioned earlier, having lived in Columbia for 50 years, I felt that she would be the person for this community's people, working hard and trying to make a great county better. The mission of the Columbia Association, as I know it to be, is to make Columbia a better place to live, work, and play, offering a myriad of community events, programs, and service and activities. And the CEO must know the needs and expectations of the residents in the community. And the only way to make that happen is to engage the different cultures within our society, cultivate an atmosphere of belonging, and provide services, programs, and activities to improve and add value to their lives. Most importantly, it is to meet the growing needs of an all-encompassing community. To make this happen, we must be flexible, understanding, and be a platform to ensure the voices of this beautiful community are heard and work together as a team to accomplish the mission and goals of this organization. My family enjoys the many activities and programs CA offers and other amenities. I'm appreciative and happy to speak to you as a county resident. And I hope each of you can make a difference by supporting the CEO of the Columbia Association. Please open your hearts and minds to ensure CA continues to be the people's voice. I'm counting you as well as the Howard County community. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to say what I feel about our community as a whole and about this new person that was sent to us that has the willingness and the desire to serve.
Thank you. That's
Thank
time.
you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? There being no questions, thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Nina Bessu.
Good evening, everyone. Nina Bassu on behalf of the Inner Arbor Trust. Great to see everyone today. I can't wait to actually see all of you in person. Again, I'm getting a little tired of video calls, but I do appreciate whoever on the tech team moved from Google Meet to Zoom. That's greatly appreciated. Just wanted to give a very brief update. You all have the Inner Arbor Trust report. Wanted to thank the CA board for its support for sending two great new board members, Kevin Fitzgerald and Dick Bolton. I wanted to talk a little bit about our partnership with CA and the really amazing improvements that are being made because of that. Wanted to really thank Dennis Matty and Nick Moonahan and the entire open space team for their help and their support. I saw many of you last week at our reception thanking donors for the project with Howard Eco Works, installing conservation landscaping and installing biochar, and in other ways improving the soil. We really want to thank CA for their partnership in that project, which was funded primarily by donors in Howard County. We're already seeing a significant improvement. Unfortunately, it's summer, so some of the really cool spring blooms are gone. The seeding has been ordered, so those pieces will be going in along with some pavers. So it's going to be a really nice amenity for the community. It's another example of the partnership, not just with the trust, but also with various community partners and Howard County to improve open space for everyone. In terms of events, May was a little quiet because of graduations, but we are back in full swing. And we're so excited for those of you who have little kids or grandchildren. The Chrysalis Kids series is back. We had our first Chrysalis Kids concert this last weekend. It was awesome. It was incredibly awesome. And it was great to hear from so many families how they had been waiting till their kid was old enough to come to a Chrysalis Kid concert. I have 4 really high quality Chrysalis Kids events coming up this year, a number of really amazing community concerts for all ages, and some more senior oriented cabaret concerts. Also wanted to let everyone know and invite everyone to 4th of July before you walk, and I do hope you walk over to the lakefront for fireworks. Please join us at the Chrysalis for a music festival from 11 to 5, and then walk on that amazing path right from the Chrysalis to the lakefront for fireworks. It's part of a downtown strategy and a Park Once, Enjoy All Day 4th of July vision that really Dennis Matty has been, pushing, and we've been talking about since at least 2019. Unfortunately, we had that little COVID break, but we're back. So I just wanted to come and say hi, follow up on those things from my report or from the trust report, and see if anyone had any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, I would just say I think Nina's doing a great job with the IAT, and I think there's some really exciting things coming down the pike, so to speak, for Symphony Woods. So really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I have a question, but I'd like to apologize.
Sorry. Questions from the board members.
Okay.
May, I'll call you afterwards.
Thank you, Nina.
You all are the CA board, but I know who runs this town, and it's Mayfield.
Our next speaker tonight is Michael Golubersh. Michael, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Goalkeeper Such. I'm here on behalf of Owen Brown. And I know there's been a few local residents opposing the Lake Elkhorn stream restoration. We sent a letter to the CA board and CA staff a few months ago saying that we support it, but just because there's been so much vocal opposition, I wanted to come and remind you all that there are a lot of people out there that do support the project. The Owen Brown board unanimously supports the project, and I know a few of my neighbors and friends have told me that they've sent emails over the past couple weeks. There's a lot of reasons to support the project. I'll highlight one that's unique to Owen Brown. You know that every few years Lake Elkhorn needs to be dredged, and the dredging requires heavy machinery operating all day for months at a time. It's highly disruptive to Owen Brown residents that live near the lake, and of course everyone that's trying to visit the lake. So anything that can be done to reduce the frequency of that dredging needs to occur would be very welcome. And since a stream restoration project would reduce the amount of sediment flowing downstream and into the lake, that should achieve that goal. We know it's not going to totally eliminate it, and we're really grateful that CA does maintain the lake, but by reducing the frequency, that would really benefit Owen Brown residents. So we'd really appreciate you following through with that. And it would, of course, have the added benefit of those dredging operations aren't cheap, and so that money could be better spent on other amenities and services for Owen Brown or for Columbia as a whole. We also really appreciate that CA is doing this particular stream restoration a little bit differently than previous ones, and that you plan to let the community provide input to the design plans once you get to the design phase, because I know you're not there yet. I think there's been a little confusion on that, but really look forward to and grateful that you're going to have community input once you get to the design phase. The letter we sent a few months ago had a few specific things that are appropriate for the design phase, like minimizing disruptions to the paths and minimizing tree loss. And so I look forward to engaging in those discussions when the time's right. I'm a huge nature lover, amateur bird photographer, so I really do care, and I'm disappointed that there are going to be trees lost. But I think it's still worth it. And again, really grateful that there's going to be that input process. And if the input doesn't go the way I like it, Sharon, I know you're out there, and you and I can chain ourselves to the same tree if that design plan doesn't go the way we want it to. And also just want to thank CA for doing such a great job communicating on this issue. John McCoy came to one of our village board meetings, I don't know, a year ago, well, a long time ago, to fill us in on the plans. We chatted for about 20 or 30 minutes. He was able to answer all our questions. And since then, CA's put out the same consistent information, keeping us informed. And so we really appreciate that. And so once again, I know there's a few vocal people really opposing this project. Just want to make sure that you're hearing from people that support it as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Sharon Boyce. Sharon, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak out tonight about the proposed 6-mile-long, 133-acre Lake Elkhorn project. I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the 7 Board of Directors members who spent hours of time on their days off to go on stream walks with me in Long Reach and in Longfellow. That really meant a lot to me. My family moved to Columbia in 1969. I had the opportunity to meet Jim Rouse as a child, and he always made me feel like I was a part of something special. I would like to share some of his words with you tonight. On October 29, 1963, James Rouse revealed to the Howard County Commissioners that he had purchased land and proposed to develop the land into a, quote, balanced, planned community that would fit naturally into the Howard County landscape, preserving the stream valleys, protecting hills and forests, and providing parks and green belts, unquote. Jim Rouse recognized nearly 60 years ago how much these protected areas would contribute to the betterment of our community and our quality of life. These forests are here now because they have been preserved for us. Mature trees and forests are some of our best tools for combating climate change. From the book Columbia and New Cities, James Rouse was also quoted as saying, quote, our cities grow by sheer chance, by accident. A farm is sold and begins raising houses instead of potatoes. Then another farm. Forests are cut, valleys are filled, streams are buried in storm sewers. Thus, bits and pieces of a city are splattered across the landscape. By this irrational process, non-communities are born. Formless places without proper beauty or reason, places with no visible respect for people or the land. Thousands of small, separate decisions made with little or no relationship to one another, nor to their composite impact, major decision about the future of our cities and our civilization, a decision we have come to label suburban sprawl. What nonsense this is, what reckless, irresponsible dissipation of nature's endowment and of man's hope for dignity, beauty, and growth, end quote. I feel we're one united city, one united community because of Jim Rouse's vision for us. There's a plaque on a bench at Wild Lake that reads, beauty is free if you really plan to respect both the land and men. Jim Rouse, 1965. I feel we owe it to future generations to continue to preserve what was preserved for us. Thanks again to the 7 Board of Directors members for your time and for caring about the community and the environment, and for your possible reconsideration of the proposed project. And thank you for this opportunity tonight. And finally, to Marina, kudos to you, and thank you so much for your stream project. Congratulations on your acceptance to Cornell. Our planet is very fortunate to have you in its future, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is Katie Harper there? Katie Harper online?
I guess not.
I guess not. Well, that concludes our resident speak out for tonight's meeting. I'd like to thank all the residents for speaking. I know it's and also like to thank you for your patience, as I know we've got a little bit of a late start. But to limit interruptions during the board discussion and voting, all members of the general public will now be returned to the audience. This means you'll now no longer be able to show your camera or unmute your audio, but you're more than welcome to stay as an attendee to watch the remainder of the session. You can also watch the live stream on the CA Livestream YouTube page. Thank you so much for your participation tonight. I'll now take a moment to allow our staff to make this transition.
Why are you doing that? What's the purpose of that screen?
What screen?
That screen. It's facing out that way.
Off the clock.
For who?
For the visual.
Nobody can see it.
Let me take minutes.
With this one, do you want somebody to move that all the advisory committees be on a consent board?
No, you can't do that because we're the consent already.
So we're going to have to vote on each one.
But you can move to vote on all as one.
Except for the millennial, because I got one amendment to that.
Okay.
Maybe short.
You can set your amendment to it.
What?
You can just add your amendment to it. You can just add your amendment to the one.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next item up tonight is the consent agenda, which has the approval of the minutes from May 26, 2022 Board of Directors meeting.
Eric, I'm sorry. Was the update that came in via email made to those minutes?
I believe.
We got an email about
Yes, it
Yes, I
was.
believe.
I can address it. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. This takes us to section 6, board votes. First item up for voting is the President CEO's FY23 goals and objectives. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to approve the goals and objectives?
So moved.
I second.
Jan moves, Andy seconds. Do we have any discussion? Jenny?
Yeah, okay. 1, 2. Here, if you could put those that way. Thanks.
Thank you.
Those go that way, I think. Okay. I'd just like to give you an example of the 4th goal in here and a suggested possible change to that. And I've given you that in writing. The goal actually here says CA's next normal in operations. I felt there was an important goal missing from here, and this is what I'm suggesting, and it's a suggestion for you to consider. It's basically to change it to board relations and communications and external communications with residents. And then under that, as you can see, there are 6 objectives that I think are important, but again, you could be changing them or reconsider them. Do you need any more? No? One would be establish effective communications between the board, the CEO, and staff to promote transparency and timeliness. Objective 2, meet with chair and vice chair twice per month. Objective 3, keep the board fully informed about all key land transactions and agreements and have the board vote in a public meeting. Objective 4, welcome new board members, give them the information they need in a timely manner, and meet with new board members. Objective 5, tracking and responding to residents' requests at board speak out and when received in a timely manner. Make that information available online once a month to the public. Objective 6, stewardship of CA's financial, budget, and land use resources. So that would be a suggested change or substitute for what's actually in here, just as an idea. I have some other suggestions for other title changes, but that's just one to start suggesting.
So are you offering an amendment to the motion?
Yeah, okay, I move that amendment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Kevin seconds, so Ginny moves, Kevin seconds. Do you have any discussion on the amendment?
I just want a clarification on this here. Is this in addition to the, or is this in place of what's on?
It replaces what's on, there is no page number here, but it replaces CA's next normal in operations. It replaces this entire page.
So all of the bullet points from the
Everything.
You're saying that these should not be part of the evaluation?
Should not be under this because what's missing is this heading for an evaluation, board relations. That's extremely important, and that's nowhere in here.
Yeah, the motion, as I understand it.
So it's replacement.
The motion, as I understand it, replaces the current goal 4 in the packet with this goal 4. Yeah. That's the amendment, as I understand it.
Correct.
Janet.
I believe these are supposed to be proposed during work sessions so that we have an opportunity to discuss this before we are bringing it to a vote. I think that it's a problem to have it. One, I'm not sure why we can't add it rather than replace something that's existing, but that's beside the point. I think the real point is not having time to read, process, and discuss in 10 minutes when we're supposed to be taking a vote.
Yeah.
Alan?
Well, and that sort of speaks to my, I don't think 10 minutes isn't, I don't think we've given sufficient time to this. So my preference would be that we have some discussion now and continue the discussion next month. What I like about this is a couple of things. It adds some specificity, and it speaks to board relations, which I think is important. My concern about what's currently in the next normal in operations is most of it reads, with the possible exception of the last bullet, reads to me like sort of normal doing the job. And my experience with other CEOs here and in other organizations is these kinds of goals are, some call them stretch goals, but they're not just the, lead the senior leadership team in ensuring operations are functioning well. That's like ground zero. That's the, if that's not happening, there'd be a problem. My other, well, I'll just leave it at that. I have other concerns about the whole structure and process, but just so I think we should limit our discussion to this particular amendment.
Andy.
Alan actually raised a very interesting point. Are we looking at goals for what the president should do this year? Are we looking at stretch goals with the assumption that there's certain things she should automatically be doing? And those are really two different things. You made some valid points, and I'm not sure, but we were, as a board, haven't really had a discussion. But, if we want to move in that direction, then I think we have to rethink and look for stretch goals. The other thing which I did not quite understand is was there a reason for replacing goal 4 or instead of adding just like goal 5?
I didn't really see that goal 4, as it was drafted, really was measurable.
Okay, no, I'm just
And I think you need measurable objectives. You need a goal with measurable objectives if you're going to eventually evaluate someone
Is there
and their
any,
job performance.
any further questions on the amendment on the table?
If I could just add,
Susan?
Lakey had her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Lakey.
2 hands.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think some of Janet Evans' comments addressed it, but in the work session, there were a lot of comments. I took notes. I went back and watched the video, and I did not feel like there was any commentary that was specifically actionable for me to make any changes, nor was there clear consensus. It really was a series of individuals sharing an individual perspective. I've received no communication from any board member or as a group since the work session. And now amendments are being handed out of which I have not seen for my goals and objectives. I think that is really inappropriate process is the best way I can put it, just watching this unfold. So I do think that if there are going to be changes, I would at least ask that they not be proposed and within 60 seconds voted on when I don't even have them in front of me to review.
Dick?
I agree, it is too early to vote on this, and I do think we need to carry it over to a further discussion. I like what Ginny has said here, and I think it could be added or substituted. One other question I had in here is CA's relevance as a key partner. It says reestablish CA as a progressive community organization and
Could we keep
leader.
it just the amendment? Could we keep the discussion?
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
amendments?
Sorry. As long as we were talking about continuing this, these were some other things, but go ahead.
Andy?
I would actually move to table this until the next meeting, and then we can discuss it at the work session.
Okay, so we got a motion to table by Andy. Do we have a second to table?
Second.
Second by Janet.
Okay.
So I will call the roll to table. So all in favor of tabling? Brian? Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, table. Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes, but can I please request that people actually review the material before the next meeting so that we can actually have a robust discussion about it?
Kevin?
Yes, I agree with Janet, too.
And I also vote yes. The motion is tabled.
We did it in exactly 10 minutes.
Next on our agenda are the proposed FY 2023 changes to the advisory committees. So the advisory committees, I'm not going to read through all of it, but the charges are all in the packet. Do we have a motion to approve the advisory committees?
So moved.
Alan moves.
I second it.
Alan moves. Ginny seconds.
I have an amendment to one of them.
Okay.
I'd like to propose an amendment to one of them. Millennial Committee, we've received an email from the vice chair of the committee, and we know the committee's been concerned about securing sufficient members, attendance, et cetera. So I'm just proposing that we take their advice and change it to the CA Next Generation Advisory Committee. And that was in the email you received from Colin Sullivan on June 16th. And he had checked with his committee. So that's what they're requesting. And it's only mentioned in the title. I don't see it anyplace else in the, what?
Second.
Okay.
So got a motion by, an amendment by Ginny, a second by Alan. Discussion, Bill.
As the liaison for the currently named Millennial Committee, I find the idea a great idea. However, conducting the business of the committee by email without any meeting whatsoever and not actually having people get on record to actually stand up and vote for something, I'm a bit opposed to. I think that if the committee wants to change its name or do some other things, we should meet, and we should do that because that's what committees do. To just send an email and say change the name, I think kind of short circuits the entire idea of a committee. So I just wanted to put that out there as part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Any further, Sherry?
Yeah, I agree with what was just said. I think you need to go back to the committee and make sure that that's going to be meeting the needs of the folks that we're talking about. I do want to give some feedback. When I mentioned this as a proposal, I got a big thumbs up and yay from some folks in the community because it seemed to make sense to them. So I just want to say that, but I think you got to check in with the committee.
Yeah, we have to meet, and once that happens, I think we can bring this back.
Thanks. Any further questions or comments on the amendment?
Yeah, I would like to third that and also just raise the issue that with all of the pushback we got on the policy that we created around the advisory committees and not going back to the committees, it would seem that that would be completely against what that sentiment was.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, just one clarification. I think Mr. Sullivan thought that's what he was doing here because apparently the committee had been discussing this problem of you need to change the name for quite a while. And since we were going to be voting, I think he thought this would be the best process. So it's not that I think he was trying to avoid a meeting. I think he was just trying to get the message to us before we voted.
That's great.
So, no, I hear what you're saying. So I'll withdraw the amendment.
The amendment is with.
You want to withdraw it?
The amendment's withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, on the climate vulnerability committee charge, if you look at the second page of the charge, the fourth bullet, we had this discussion last time about the marginalized communities, and we said that what we were really talking about was working with Wild Lake.
Right.
And so what I suggest is we reword that to say Wild Lake. And so my amendment is
which
says build on the CVA and boost engagement with marginalized communities by harnessing additional information tools and resources.
Okay. So you're proposing to strike
boost engagement, and instead of saying with marginalized communities, say with the village of Wild Lake.
Okay.
Is that the only place it's happening? Is that the only place it's happening?
Yeah, I think that's the only one I can see.
I think it's currently a pilot program, and then if they want to expand it, then we.
So I'll rephrase the amendment. So Andy proposes to strike from bullet 4 on page 2 of the Climate Advisory Committee is the word marginal communities and replace it with the words Wild Lake. Do I have a second?
Village of Wild Lake.
Village of Wild Lake. Village of Wild Lake. Do I have a second for the amendment? Got a second by Dick. Do we have any discussion on the amendment?
Just brief.
Ginny?
Yeah, I think I was suggesting that the last time, but lately, in terms of talking with the committee on different issues, they thought we could just put underserved to get the message across, because that's what they're trying to do, is to help communities that are underserved in different ways. But whatever.
Janet?
I was wondering if it would make sense to make it broader from the standpoint that we wouldn't have to change it in the future
Remember, this is only 1 year. The charge for 1 year.
Right, but the charters stay pretty static from year to year, don't they?
No, these are the charges.
Oh,
The charges change every year.
Yeah,
okay.
charges.
And there's no chance it would extend beyond Wild Lake in this year?
Yes.
Alan?
I'm with Janet on this. I don't. Keeping it broader gives them more flexibility. I don't see why we limit them to Wild Lake. If that's what they do, they do that. If they don't, they have their reasons, and we'd accept it.
Sherry?
Yeah, am I correct in assuming that you said this is a pilot project? So if there was some reference in here to this specific pilot project, that would give us an idea that it's specific to this community but could be expanded at a later point. And it would also allow the board to go back and check on what happened with that pilot project, to get a report back to the board so that we would know whether that's worth expanding or modifying or doing something else with it, but somehow getting in pilot project.
Where would you put that in the charter?
No, we talked about this already. I don't remember how. Give me a minute here. Is that the mapping tool that is the pilot?
Yeah. How about,
The mapping tool.
as a pilot project, build on the CDA and boost engagement with?
Okay. So you're going to amend your,
Yeah,
you're going to alter your amendment to add the words "as a pilot project" at the beginning of the bullet, and then strike marginalized communities and replace with Village of Wild Lake in the bullet.
Yeah. I think that works. Thanks, Andy.
Ginny?
Yeah, Janet has a very valid point, because if you read the first bullet, the real intent is, it starts with the pilot in Wild Lake, but if you look at the mapping, it covers all of CA assets in Columbia. And what it's saying here is, they, as a committee, are open to talking to other village boards. If another village board or a CARES group in a village says, hey, I'd like to get involved in this as well, they will be doing that. So it will not just remain in Wild Lake. They will put most of the effort in Wild Lake and work closely with Wild Lake, but they are also saying and want to encourage other villages. So, that's right here in the bulletin. That's what they're doing. So that's why they were suggesting just put underserved if you have a problem with the word marginalized. But
Alan?
Yeah, I'm okay with either word, marginalized or underserved, but I would also point out that the term marginalized communities or underserved communities does not necessarily refer to geographical communities. It refers to groups of people. And so to me, this gives them more freedom to focus on underserved / marginalized people, which I think is a good thing.
Andy?
Yeah, the one thing, and I'd ask Bill to please let me know if I'm wrong, but it sounds like Wild Lake has an expectation that this project is going to go on, and they're going to be the pilot. So right at this point, I'd really like the pilot to occur and make sure it occurs in Wild Lake, and be happy that if that is successful, to expand it. I'm not sure I just want to kind of like open it to all the villages when Wild Lake has an expectation, been led in an expectation that this is a project that's going to occur in their village.
Any more comments before we call the question?
Just the last one. If your concern is Wild Lake is going to get shortchanged, that is not what's going to happen. Wild Lake will get all the attention it needs, but at the same time, there are some parts of this that another village may say, well, why should I wait a year? We're all creating environmental problems or concerns, and they want to just get in on one part of it, and that's what this says here, and Wild Lake will not be cheated or shortchanged at all. So.
Thank you. So that's time for this section. I will call the question for the amendment that was moved by Andy and seconded by Alan, that adds the text "as a pilot project" to the beginning of sub-bullet 4 under section B, and also strikes the words "marginalized communities" and replaces that text with "Village of Wild Lake."
Who did you say seconded that?
I believe.
No, it was
seconded by Dick. Sorry.
Another white-haired guy.
Sorry about that. So, all in favor, Brian?
Yes, in favor.
Bill?
Yes.
Ginny?
No.
Sherry?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Alan?
No.
Janet?
No.
Kevin?
Yes.
And I am yes. The motion Motion passes the amendment passes 7-3. Assuming there's no further discussion, can we call the question on voting on all the charges as a single vote?
So moved.
I think this has actually already been moved.
No, it has, okay.
Yeah, it's been moved by Janet and seconded by Andy.
Okay.
So all in favor, Brian?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And I am yes. The motion passes 10-0. The last item for board votes is the village excess cash reserves exception. So do we have a motion to approve the excess cash reserves exception as stated in the agenda packet 6C in your packet?
So moved.
Janet moves. Do I have a second? Andy seconds. Do we have any discussion? Ellen?
I'd love, Susan, if you could respond to the years question, which years, and we've heard from a couple of villages what they want.
So we did, I did in the memo that was posted again yesterday. So that, again, we believe that FY 2019 being wholly pre-COVID is unrealistic and irrelevant and actually kind of misleading predictor for cash needs because it reflects operating conditions that no longer exist for the villages or for CA. We do not recommend that FY 2019 be part of this calculation for this reason. If the CA board chooses to include FY 2019, then we would recommend that you include FY 21 also to provide a more balanced picture of current operating conditions.
So I'll say that the chair has received a letter from Town Center regarding a couple of proposed amendments. Kevin, do you wish to offer those amendments?
Yes, I mean, I think the memo states it pretty clearly, and I agree with it. But, you know, I appreciate Susan's comments in reference to as well. It's something that, you know, we've been in unique times right now, so I appreciate Susan's comments back on it as well.
Are you
What's that?
Are you making an amendment?
No.
No. Janet?
Susan, can you tell me what the impact would be if we included 2019?
So I don't know because we don't have all of the data from the villages and we didn't calculate that, but I would imagine that it would be, because the expenses would be greater in 2019, because it was a full year of full operations, then the villages would have more cash reserved. There would be a more, higher number.
Thank you. Just a quick question.
Jenny?
Yeah, Susan, hi. It's my understanding that we're excluding grants and loans and tax credits and all of that in there. Okay, thank you.
I just want to clarify that, and it's in the backup, but that unpaid loan balances are always excluded. And what staff was just clarifying that any tax credits or CARES Act or other distributions received in the current year, received in FY 22 would be excluded.
Right.
Ellen?
Yeah, I guess to me, this is more than an economic question. It's a philosophical question as well. And, so when we say, on the one hand, nonprofits should have reserves, and on the other hand, no, you don't need reserves because you've got CA. To me, that's continuing to blur the lines between the villages and CA that we need to make clearer and stronger and not continue to blur them. So I'm not in favor of this policy of requiring money back from villages and limiting how much they can. To me, the money that that is theirs. And
So I would just like to clarify that I never said that the villages should not have cash reserves, and that this is, they have cash reserves currently, and this is just how much is an appropriate amount.
I accept that. To me, I get that as a difference than what I said, and I appreciate that. And to me, it's still a matter of, to me, that's not for us to decide. So that's where I am.
Any further question? So for clarification, the motion on the table is to approve the excess cash reserve policy as it was presented at the work session without alteration.
Without alteration.
Without alteration. That's the current motion. So the discussion, which I know Susan's discussed with the letter coming in from Town Center, that's not on the table right now.
Now I'm really confused because here it says exception.
But
it's an exception.
Yeah, the exception.
This is about exceptions.
This is about the exceptions.
Excuse me?
And so this is
They're in here.
Oh, okay.
in the packet.
Right, and the exception would change, it would add 2019.
No.
This is about exceptions.
Okay.
This is about
And
exceptions.
it's about particular years, not including 19.
Yeah, so the way the current.
I get you.
So the way the current motion is, as stated in agenda item 6C, would not include FY19.
Okay.
There was a letter sent to the chair as one of the things to do was to include FY19 expenses.
I was thinking backwards.
So the motion is just for 6C as written in the packet as presented at the work session.
Yeah, and I think some of the villages had a concern about credits and tax credits and grants and, but that wasn't, they're saying they're not including that, so.
So yeah, the two things in the letter were including 2019 expenses and excluding the excess charge share for all villages.
Yeah.
In the proportional amount in April 2021. So that's the letter that came to the chair. But that's not on the table right now because there's been no amendment to the agenda item 6C.
Can I call the question?
Can you call the question? Yes. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Okay, so we're calling the question to vote on agenda item 6C as stated in the original packet without amendment. All in favor, Brian?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Ginny?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Alan?
No.
Janet?
Yes.
Kevin?
Abstain.
I'm no. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 6, 3, 1. So that concludes the board's votes section. Now we move on to board discussion. The first item on board discussion is the draft ethics policy discussion. So the current version of the ethics policy is in your packet. Are there any comments or questions on the current ethics policy? Any discussion?
You're talking about the old one that we signed.
I'm talking about the policy that is in your packet.
The new.
Yes. So.
The revised.
The revised. Yes. We're talking about the revised policy.
Okay.
March 31st, 2022.
So is there?
March 31st, 2022.
Yes. So is there any comments, discussion on the ethics policy? Ellen.
I marked up my copy and I saved it at home, and now my remote control software is not working, so I can't access what I saved at home. So I don't have complete, I'm glad we're not voting because I won't have complete things. A couple of tiny things that I do remember, there are a couple of places where it says his, her, and that's outdated language. People use there instead of his, her. So somebody would be nice if they would go through that. There's a section that says that anybody, it has to do with consequences. Let me see if I can find it. That if one is removed from the board, then you can't serve again on the board. And to me, that's not ours to decide. That's the village's to decide. So I would be proposing an amendment to
Do you ever
remove.
know where that one is, Alan?
Is that corrective action?
It's under corrective action.
That's page
paragraph
26.
Page 20, says 24 here, but I believe you.
26 in this copy,
Yes.
at the bottom, corrective action?
What line is that?
No?
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty much, if I recall, standalone. Yeah, it's a separate paragraph in the beginning, actually, I think of page 27. It says if a CA employee or board member is terminated or removed as a result of substantiated unethical and inappropriate business contact, they should be permanently banned from working for or serving on behalf of CA. It's a little bit vague as to what serving on behalf of CA means. So on whose behalf do we serve on the board? Certainly it's for CA, it's also our villages. But we don't take votes during discussions, so I don't know what we do here. But when we do take a vote, I'll be proposing to remove or board member.
Well, I can certainly get a feel for the board. So can I get a show of hands who would be in favor of Ellen's proposed amendment?
Trying to figure out where.
Well, I guess.
Okay.
Well.
Any further discussion? Jenny?
Yeah, I thought we were working on a separate document for just the board. Is that changed?
So we do have a,
Because this says CA, staff, and board member, and I thought we were just going to be coming in with a final on just the board
so
members.
So does the policy committee have a status on the ethics policy, Dick?
Yes, there is a draft, the first draft that has been prepared for discussion, and it does answer Alan's question, and it answers Jenny's question, and it will be submitted to Wes before, before we pass it on to the board for discussion.
Jenny?
Are you tracking changes?
You cannot track changes on it. Will you let me finish what I'm saying,
I'm
please?
trying to clarify my question, Dick.
I
I
am-
don't mean redlining the entire document. I mean, like Alan's suggestion. Are you tracking bullets of the new
Oh,
changes that
excuse
have
me, I am
changed?
sorry. There will be a separate document telling what the changes are. There are actually very few changes in it other than to tighten it up, make it more concise, make it more
That's a
readable.
pretty big change.
And there is, I think the only real change is the one that Alan mentioned.
When will we see this document?
As soon as the policy committee is prepared to, is happy with it and has passed it to Wes for approval.
Is there a target timeline? It's pretty big.
I'd have to ask the policy committee. It is a top priority.
Okay, can I request that the policy committee have something by the next work session?
That would be, I think, within reasonable time.
So, Sherry?
We've been trying to find times to meet when everybody can meet. So I mean, the next section is a little bit, I'll give you some background on where the committee is. We can try to have something, or at least present the draft in whatever condition it's in.
Okay. So given that we haven't seen the draft from the committee, do we need any more discussion on this tonight? Sounds like no.
I don't think so.
So that brings us.
Got a couple of hands.
What? Oh.
Got a couple of hands there.
Lakey.
Lakey and Brian.
Oh, and Brian.
Lakey.
I just wanted to bring up the timing, that if there is a desire to have it on the next board agenda, which is July 14th, we have to post on the 8th, which means that for our general counsel, the attorney to review it and have enough time to respond, realistically, we would need as staff to get it next week to be able to have it fully prepped for the 14th. I just wanted to give the general logistics of how that timeline would have to work in order for the attorney to actually review it and provide legal feedback.
Thanks.
Well,
Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification on this. So the ethics policy, they're going to extract out the parts. So there's an ethics policy for the board and then one for staff. Is that what I'm hearing?
Dick, do you want to answer that?
The policy committee is only looking at policies that affect the board. I understand that the employee handbook is being revised, is that correct? And I'm sure we'll all want to look at that when the time comes, but this is only a board ethics code.
Good. Thank you, Jake.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I was going to say that, I mean, I don't think the next work session is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I say it is
That's what I'm going to
we
say.
haven't even seen the draft yet. The committee's probably going to talk about it. And there's no way it's going to happen within a week, and we're all going to come to a decision, you know. And, it's just, I just don't think it's realistic.
So I'll state, if it's not realistic to get done by the next work session, so this is currently on the agenda for the next work session, the ethics policy. It's also scheduled for a vote in July. So that would force all that to slip to September.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Well, that's how the calendar works, right?
Yeah, that's how the calendar works. I'm just stating that that's what I'm just stating that that's what happens. There's no board meetings in
Our
August.
genius here.
I haven't said much today, but what I said was it was
Well,
the truth.
I'm glad you didn't suggest August.
Yeah, yeah.
Because everybody's got their vacations planned for August, I think.
Understood.
Any further discussion before we move on to the next item? Okay.
Just saved ourselves 15 minutes.
So the next item on the agenda is the board policies compilation. Would the policy committee care to discuss the current status of the compilation?
Yeah, so let me just give you an update on what's going on with that. So we've gone through the book that Wes compiled for us of everything he could find as far as policies are concerned. I found we've been looking through for documents of various kinds to make sure that we're meshing policies that mesh with other board documents like the charter and the bylaws, the strategic plan. There's a whole bunch, HOA rules and regulations. There's a whole bunch of stuff that forms the foundation for the board's policies. And I came across a document from 2019 as to why this was important and why this is taking some time. And it was really, the board has noted many times over the years the need for a searchable database. So something practical, usable, both for the board, the staff, the president, and the residents, that would allow easy retrieval of board topics of discussion and of board policies and procedures. As policies and procedures have changed and modified over time by board amendments, there has been no systemic way of tracking changes or archiving board policy votes. Often board policies and procedures have become jumbled together, causing confusion and uncertainty. Policy is what sets the guidelines for the organization, while procedure outlines how a process or task is to be done. And I think Andy has talked about this before, that procedures can change. We're casting about for something that may be more efficient. But the question is, does the basic policy meet the needs of the organization as far as guidelines? In order to gain some clarity and sense of order, board members asked that a small group go through the board's policies and procedures, see if any were contradictory or no longer relevant, and make a recommendation to the full board about how this content might be integrated into a searchable database. So the group has met on June 10th. We met on the 17th. We divided up the sections in that book so we could see exactly what the policies were. We noted that there seemed to be several sections that might be listed in a different way. For example, there was a time when some of the policies were being written up as guidelines. So that might not have pulled up, and most of these were environmental policies that the board came up with, things of that kind. So I know that there are a couple of things that we couldn't find in the materials that we have right now. So we will be reviewing and grouping these policies into categories and then looking at similar types of policies to see which ones fit together, whether there are certain things that can be eliminated, and we'll come to the board with recommendations. But I think it's going to divide up into chunks as far as getting on the board agenda for discussion and then recommendations for any modifications.
Do you have any sense of the timeline? Do you have any sense of the timeline for the recommendations coming to the board?
Well, if we push the one policy, the one thing back until September, I think, probably every other month.
Okay, thanks.
To come to the board.
Thanks.
And just have a small, I think it's easier for the board to deal with than to lump everything together.
Any further discussion on this item? Thank you. That brings us to questions only. Are there any questions? Bill.
Right. Just piggybacking off of what Sherry was saying is I think that once the policy committee finishes its work, and I think a database is a great idea, but I think that once that committee is done, we need to begin another committee on change management processes and codify how policies will be changed and how those changes are tracked through time going forward, so that we don't in another 20 years have another book dropped and said, here's all the policies, try and put them back together.
Yeah.
And I think that change management is a key idea, and I think that committee shouldn't start until the policy committee has finished their work so that they have something to start with. This is just kind of a follow-on. It's a living process. And related, I think that an oversight policy ought to be developed that would be separate and different from our audit committee, which is certainly, based on the one meeting I've been at, super professionally run and absolutely capable. But for instance, the school board every year, just as a matter of practice, provides oversight and review of 3 policies. Just take them, take a look at them, dust them off, make sure that they're current and up to date. And I think we ought to form a committee to look at those kind of issues. So that's my 2 cents.
Any further questions for the questions only section? Janet?
Are we having a board retreat?
So do we have a status on the board retreat from Andy or Ellen?
We're pretty much ready to, it's a question of when does the board want to do it?
So could you, Andy, Ellen, email out a set of dates and take a poll of the board for coming up with a
No,
appropriate
because
date?
you couldn't make it. I mean, there was no sense of
There's got to be more than one date outside of the July 4th weekend.
Oh, God.
No,
There's got to be more dates in July or August.
Well, we have the board training coming.
Yeah, the board training.
So
is coming up.
that's in July?
Yes.
I think the board training has a specific focus, and I don't want to detract from that focus. I think that the board retreat is very important also, but I don't want them to feed on.
No. I was trying to figure out if the board's tied up with board training and that removes a date that, yeah.
My apologies.
It's all right.
Yeah, and if there's no times in July, we can always look to August.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like August.
Okay.
It's the only hope to get. You need to be there.
Yes.
It's like, send us your calendar.
Well,
tell us when you're going to, what dates are bad for you in August.
Well, we want
one thing
August is open, but Sherry?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think if you look at the end of August and use the retreat as sort of a lead on to the first board meeting in September.
Yeah.
That might be a good way to address it. And then there's some energy that propels that September meeting on.
Of course, don't get too close to the end because there's another holiday called Labor Day. Bill?
I think Kevin was before me.
Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, and we also I think it's really crucial that we have a facilitator too. And, I shared some information from the Town Center Board when we worked with Maryland nonprofits that was quite effective, and it takes a little bit of time to get them scheduled too. So I think that would be great to have a facilitator there for us as well. And it wasn't that expensive, but it was really helpful to have somebody, an outside party, help us with our thinking for the retreat. So I recommend that.
Alan?
And just and Andy, tell me if I'm good off the beaten path, but what we're thinking about is an evening session that would include a meal. So I wanted to get, so anybody who goes, oh, no, would hate to do that.
Turn house.
How many hours are you talking about for an evening meeting?
3.
Yeah, you kind of need 3 hours to do a retreat, 3 or 4 hours, including a meal. Yeah, at least.
Okay, so would we just want to do something with bring in some food and get things moving from there?
Exactly.
Bill?
Just based on, if we're talking late August and we started this journey together in May, we may want to include a topic as part of that retreat. I don't mind late August, but part of that retreat should be, what have we done well so far? What can we improve on? What have we really screwed up and we got to fix? And do a lessons learned from now until the end of August. That if we don't do it soon, then we at least have to include that as part of our retreat.
And that's a good idea. And actually, that might be something a facilitator might be able to help out with.
Sure.
Because they'll do, I forwarded, what we used at Town Center last year, and the facilitator will do interviews separately with all of us to ask questions to try to help formulate the agenda, which I thought was a terrific idea. So we're getting more value out of it that way too. So I recommend doing that as well.
Lakey?
I was just gonna, I had already shared with the chair, but Maryland Nonprofits is who is doing our governance board excellence training. And so we did go ahead and get a quote for an external facilitator, similar to what Kevin characterized. But again, since the board is planning it, the next step is really, because from the last meeting, it was not clear to me whether everyone agreed that an external facilitator was a good idea. I would echo that I think it's valuable, but I think it really is, if we are going to be planning for something, I think we've got to firm up what that is in terms of actual format. Because if an external facilitator, obviously CA will pay for that out of the board budget, but board members will need to actually scope that. We as staff will not do it, given kind of the current situation, how the board is approaching this, is that it is.
And who's in favor of using a external facilitator? So that seems like everyone, almost.
Almost.
Janet, did you want to?
Yeah, I was just, okay, will something be solidified on this before the next meeting?
What?
On the board retreat, will we have some actual details? I mean, this is 2 meetings now where there's been, as far as I can tell, no movement. So I'm just curious if someone is responsible for following up with Lakey regarding the facilitator and setting a date
Yes, so Andy.
and creating the scope.
So Andy and Alan, could the board retreat task force follow up on this?
Absolutely.
We'll work it out, right, Alan?
Yes, thank you. Any other questions on the questions only, Andy?
Yeah, actually, a question for Lakey on our report, which I thought was good. But what intrigued me was on page 3, was it mention of revamping the Columbia Speaker Series, including, community development, real estate, and called it Changing Columbia Speaker Series. Yeah, I just wonder if you had any more words to add. I do remember in the past the speaker series was very good and well attended, depending on the topic. So I'm not sure. It was like, oh, it's kind of nice we're starting it again.
Yeah, I've heard positive things about it historically, and with the kind of way that we have restructured what is now Community Development and Real Estate Services, and the timing, particularly around the planning processes that are going on in the county. That is why we saw them as one of the first pieces. I can't talk through the details. Those should be being shared soon. They're being finalized, but they are going to, the idea of the speaker series is that we would have an external expert, and then we would also have someone from CA that is an expert around that to talk very specifically about what CA does around that topic. So that is being finalized. And I would expect that we would start to have the final materials to promote it with some additional detail around planning and development, and really this idea of how do you balance preservation with change. Yes, I think it's next week that we're expecting to start that promotion with a bit more detail. But that's kind of the basic idea. It's something that we've talked about and really needed to figure out how to allocate funds to, as well as staff time. So again, heard very positive things about the speaker series in the past as well. So
thanks, Lee.
Thank you. Any other questions, Dick?
Yes, Andy just asked one of the 2 questions I had, and so thank you. That's useful. And one other thing before I get in my other question, just congratulations on the membership improvement, 900 new memberships. I want to thank you and the rest of the team. That's an incredible number. And also appreciate the follow-up on the stream restoration thing. He gave us a nice pile of stuff to get a number on. But I was asking about, there are a couple of memos of understanding, one for HRD and something for the Clippers. Can you tell us more about what's in those?
So the one with HRD is the one that was directed as a condition of the easement by this board. And so it addresses, as is indicated, coordinating events that are occurring at the lakefront.
Oh, good.
In terms of Columbia Clippers, I think that that one is predominantly about trying to have a more formal relationship about what CA is doing versus what the nonprofit arm is doing. I think it's another example, as I understand it, of a relationship that had gotten very muddy over the years and actually had some not just operational issues, but actually some implications around clarity for liability and that kind of thing. So with leadership, volunteer leadership on that side, and then with our general counsel and the aquatics team has been very present in that process. They have formalized, which is really what the purpose of a memorandum of understanding is, what those relationships are, what CA is doing and executing, and what the Clippers board is doing and executing.
Well, that's good. And I think that's something we definitely needed. Is that going to be shared with the board so we have some idea of what the relationship is?
No, that is not the intention. As we discussed previously with the easement, the board approved it with a condition. We then execute that. The same with the MOU. That's something operational. So there would not be in the normal course a sharing of, every legal transaction that is executed by CA. So I guess if there's a specific request, then that could be answered. But in the normal course of operations, an MOU like that would not come in front of the board, no.
Well, I'm not asking to approve it. It is an operational question. It's just that as a board member, I'd like to know what our arrangement is with the Clippers. That's a very important program, and it would be nice to know what the parameters of it are. So anyway, yes, I'm going to make a specific request that you just let us know what was agreed to.
Any further questions?
Yeah, just quickly.
Jenny.
Yeah, hi, Lakey. Thanks for getting this signed with Howard Hughes in terms of the MOU downtown. Can we also see that document?
So I can put this in the process. I mean, I can't give you a timeline right now. I can certainly get the request in. I do want to clarify that obviously as a board member, getting the information is not the issue. I do have to point out that, a lot of what we generate when there's an additional layer of then needing to generate it for the board just takes staff time and resources. And so I guess I'm not entirely clear what a board member is going to get out of these legal documents, but certainly I can put it in the queue that we're using on where we want to spend our staff time and resources. So we can get that in the queue, and I'll have a date estimate when the next time it comes out.
Thank you. Shari, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Lakey and her daughter for coming to the King's Contrivance 45th birthday celebration, and to Eric and his family for coming as well. We had a really nice celebration, great support from Kimco, lots of face painting, lots of balloons. It was an old-fashioned village get-together. And that was one of the things, County Executive Calvin Ball was there, and that's one of the things that he mentioned. And, it made me feel so good that people are recognizing this. Christiana Rigby talked about growing up in King's Contrivance. And, so this is the great thing when kids come back to Columbia and they kind of re-experience their childhood with their kids. And so it's a lot of fun to do this. I'd just like to ask other board members that as events are coming up in your villages, can you just flag those kinds of things? I asked our village manager to put together an invitation. She did such a great job. And if we can do more of that, we get to participate in each other's villages. It would be great to have staff people come out and see what the villages look like. Some of the pictures of the old when Volmarhausen was a mud pit before there was a road there. They're really interesting to see the history and the evolution of our communities. So I'd just really like to invite everybody to try to do more of that because it was really fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
I'll tell you, Lynn Locke, who's our executive director at Town Center, I'm sure he's great at promoting stuff. So yeah, maybe we can get our executive directors cross-promote by email some of those events. That'd be great.
Great, wonderful.
Any further questions? And I'll say my son's very thankful for all the county leadership for successfully lobbying my wife to get him an ice cream during the event. That brings us to chair remarks. I'd like to thank Alan and Andy and Kevin in advance for helping work and put together the board retreat. And also thank everyone for their participation tonight. I know we got a late start, but we finished early, so I wonder what that says. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Skipped over proposed new topics.
Whoops.
Proposed new topics.
Proposed new topics. Are there any proposed new topics?
That'll add another half hour.
5 minutes.
Any proposed new topics? No proposed new topics. Now can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And Dick second. Any objections?
No.
Meeting's adjourned. At 9:10. Thank you. Thank you all for attending.